You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. Hulk. Smash.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Here's Johnny. What do you want?
Hey, motherfucker.
You never go ass to mouth.
Now what is so damn funny?
And here we go.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
The Force will be with you. Always.
But the truth! You can't handle the truth! Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
What's up, fanboys and fangirls? Welcome to another edition of the For Real Movie Club. This is the May set of films that we're going to be doing, and you might recognize that this is not Chris Dace talking. This is Tony Mango, your host of the panel, and I'm joined today with Will Molinar.
Hello.
So, I need to preface this ahead of time, everybody. Not only am I hosting the show instead of Dace, but we are doing this very late. We've had so many issues when it comes to this podcast. We have had rescheduling problems, we've had Skype problems, we've had just, anything that you can possibly imagine. So I apologize ahead of time for it being, June and us doing the May edition and just the haphazard nature that this is probably going to be, but we needed to make sure that we got another edition for you. Anyway, we weren't going to just skip a month. The hell with that, right? And what we're going to be doing this month is based off of the Jurassic World movie coming up. We're going to be doing 4 Dinosaur films. These were picked by Chris Dace, and I had seen 2 of them before, and I hadn't seen 2 of the other ones. But, they seemed pretty interesting and stuff, so I figured I'd just dive right in, whatever. The first movie that we're going to be talking about is The Land Before Time. That movie is something that is a classic, but not something that I was too familiar with. I mean, I knew the basic story, obviously, dinosaurs. That's kind of how it goes. But it's a movie that a lot of people watched when they were a kid, and I didn't get around to it. Or if I did, I didn't remember anything. It was 1988 is when it came out, directed by Don Bluth, and written by Stu Krieger, story by Judy Freudberg, not sure how you pronounce that, and Tony Geiss. A bunch of actors that I didn't really recognize on the list and stuff like that. Now, we usually break down a lot of different things when it comes to, do you think that the casting is good? Do you think that the music is good and stuff like that? Since this is a weird podcast this month, we're just going to keep this very, very basic. But this 1988 movie came out a year after I was born, so of course I wasn't, hopping in the movie theaters to see this. Will, you're a little bit older than I am. Do you have any fond memories or anything from Land Before Time?
Just a little. Who doesn't like dinosaurs? You know what I mean? It's so weird because it's something that's so universal. We have a 2-year-old, our son James, and he says Dinodum for dinosaur. You know what I mean? And The Land Before Time, it's funny because that was, I believe that was like Spielberg, yeah?
Yeah, Spielberg, Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, and Frank Marshall were the producers. So, strong team behind it.
Yeah, good old Amblin,
Mm-hmm.
The 80s, man, it's like they could do nothing wrong. What I find so interesting about that movie is, like, I believe there's 10 sequels or something like that, or 12. I mean, there's a lot of movies in that whole series, you know what I mean?
Let's see here. There's Land Before Time 2, The Great Valley Adventure, Land Before Time 3, The Time of the Great Giving. Was this like Thanksgiving or something? Land Before Time 4, Journey Through the Mist, Land Before Time 5, The Mystery Island, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's, 14 or something here. There's a TV series, there's music albums, games. My God.
Yeah, it's great. And it's funny because, I grew up a Disney fan, just everything Disney. We had the Disney Channel. We would go see every Disney movie that came out. The Land Before Time feels like a Disney movie that wasn't made by Disney. You know what I mean? But it's a little more I remember it being a little more sophisticated at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was like a precursor to DreamWorks or something. Like the kind of Elseworlds Disney factor.
Yeah.
I can see that, definitely. Because it is dealing with some adult themes and stuff. I mean, obviously, the dinosaurs. Eventually, they're not going to make it, but the start of the film it's crazy. It just is like, hey kids, death. Like, you got the inevitable opening scene of the T-Rex going all rah, nature practically built me to fuck shit up, and like the parents are killed, and like it's pretty dark at the beginning of this.
Yeah. Well, that's I think another reason why it kind of reminds me of Disney, because everybody knows Bambi. Spoiler alert, but Bambi's mother dies, and and oh, I mean, look how dark and twisted Dumbo is, man. Jesus.
Yeah, Dumbo's like a nightmare.
It's horrible. And those pink elephants dancing, it's like a freaking acid trip.
That and Fantasia, I mean.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it's a little bit weird when, like, you can go, well, kids, you want to see this nice little dinosaur movie? All right, well, the parents die, and this person dies, and whatever, and there's this horrible comet, and, like, it's kind of like the beginning of Up, where, you're going to want to see a movie about a talking dog and stuff, and it's, like, horribly depressing.
Yeah, you're just bawling your eyes out the whole time,
Although this movie definitely appeals more to kids than one of the movies that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, Dinosaur, which it's good in some ways, but it actually made it a little bit more difficult for me to get into. I'm watching this when I'm 27, so there's that kind of disconnect where if you've watched something when you were a kid and it resonated with you, then you can kind of forgive it a little bit later, but...
Yeah, the nostalgia factor is very strong. Yeah, for sure.
But it's difficult to get into it when you're an adult. So, this movie wasn't really... I mean, this is probably my least favorite out of the four that we did. That's
The Land Before...
Yeah, this one. I didn't really care about the characters. It was rough. Like, Sarah, she's a bitch the entire time.
Well, I think they made the characters very one note. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's more about the journey and just following them along. And it's like they had all these bad things happen at the beginning, so you would want them to succeed no matter what. Right. You just got to root for Littlefoot, I think is the...
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's cute and this and that. But, yeah, every character is kind of just – they're one-dimensional. They just kind of fit these boxes that kids are familiar with, and that's it, Yeah,
Littlefoot's pretty much just generic protagonist.
Yeah, he's the hero guy. Here he is. You got to root for him,
I can't remember which one it is. It's I'm assuming Petrie, the complete wimp. And then there's –
something like that.
Something else. And then there's one that doesn't even talk. Spike. It's like a pet. So it's like some dinosaurs can talk and some can't, Typical, like, Disney little kid kind of stuff. But I don't recognize any of the actors, but I do recognize Pat Hingle is the narrator.
He was, he was a fantastic dramatic actor, actually. He was in a few Westerns with Clint Eastwood. Hang 'em High. Mm-hmm. That was, what's unfortunate about him, he's kind of like George Kennedy, who was a fantastic actor back in the day, but most people recognize them for work that they did later.
Yeah.
Pat, everybody knows from the Batman movies where he plays Commissioner Gordon. He's kind of goofy. George Kennedy, people know from the Naked Gun movies.
Yeah,
and they're great in those movies, but those guys were like great. They were amazing actors. Like Fred Gwynne is kind of the same thing.
Even somebody like a Jack Lemmon, like you get a Jack Lemmon and people go, "Oh, Grumpy Old Men." You're like, "Yeah, but he had like decades of a career before that."
Yeah, they don't think about classics and stuff. It's kind of sad, but that's these actors when they get older, they have to kind of take what they can get. They're just trying to get a paycheck. So I don't know if Pat Hingle was doing this.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Unless he was like one of those guys that you find out like he just really loves dinosaurs and he was just like, "Oh my god, a dinosaur movie! I need to be a part of it." Like.
Did it for his grandkids,
Yeah, that's true. He could have been doing that for that.
Yeah.
The other actors: Gabriel Damon, Candy Hudson, Judith Barcy, Will Ryan. None of these people sound familiar to me. I'm sure if I went on their IMDb's, I'd be like, "Oh, they were that guy in that thing," like that kind of thing. But they don't stand out to me. So it's not like casting is like, "Well, do you think somebody else could have been better in 1988 for Sarah?" Or Like,
what's funny is like that kind of casting role would never happen nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You get an animated film that you're spending 150, even 180, $200 million on, you have to have like a superstar voice cast. You can't just hire people for their voices anymore. They hire them for their star power.
Right. I mean, and look at something like we were talking about comparing this to Disney. Look at something like Aladdin. Like you get Robin Williams as the genie, and you get if you're going for something now, you're going to get like Shrek has the Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy and John Lithgow and all that. Like even supporting characters are voiced by somebody who is known.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how it's changed though?
You would think almost that you would want to go back to that though, like save a little bit of money because you don't have to pay these people as much.
They're thinking about putting the name on the poster,
right?
And going to draw people in. That's all they care about. They're scared. You know what I mean? They're scared to death. They have to have big names attached to everything now.
Of course, through all these movies, none of these people were able to stick around. A lot of people recast and stuff. I think it says here that there are 4 or 5 different people, bring this up to be sure, that have played Littlefoot alone. Wow, well, there's even more than that. Okay, this list just keeps going. The guy who played Littlefoot in this one only did it in this movie. Then it started going to Scott McAfee, Brandon LaCroix, Thomas Dekker, who some might know from Heroes and the Sarah Connor Chronicles. He ended up doing it for quite a while, and get to a point where they do like a movie apiece, it seems, and then they just go on. Rob Paulson is on here. Actually, I do recognize one of the names on this list, though, other than Hingle and Thomas Dekker. It's the voice of Spike, the one that didn't talk, Frank Welker.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, he did a lot of grunts and groans then, because that's what he's.
Because he's the guy. Like, you need somebody to do a dog, you get Frank Welker.
He's the weird voices, the weird noises. They're not even voices.
Can't believe he's still doing those. It's crazy that he's like Santa's little helper and Spike and whatever. He's just amazing. But when you're watching this movie, now that you're watching it as an adult, anything stand out to you that I don't know, it was like a little bit too fantastical or something?
I don't know. What I remember the most and what kind of has touched me recently is the animation. I love the simplicity of the animation. You know what I mean? It's that has changed so dramatically as well. There was no such thing as computer generated images, and all animation was hand drawn, and I really miss that. So like watching this film now in 2015, it's like, whoa, what happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can see like the personal touch added to it.
Yeah.
I got a feeling though when I was watching this that it sort of felt more like an educational film, but without the educational aspect. You know what I'm talking about?
It's kind of it's draped in that kids will like and respond to.
Yeah. Came off a little bit preachy, sort of, to me. So that was a little odd. I didn't expect that. I expected it to just be, silly dinosaurs bouncing around and stuff like that. But
quite as subtle as I remember, because I think as a kid you don't get it. Mm-hmm. And adult you watch some of them. I mean, it is somewhat manipulative. It's like, okay, they're trying to do this for that reason. You know what I mean?
Do you ever watch any of the sequels and stuff?
No, never.
I haven't checked them out either.
There's so many of them,
Yeah. And some of these titles are really ridiculous. I mean, it makes sense to have like it says what's this number? Number 8 here, the Big Freeze. All right, yeah, there was an ice age. Makes sense. Then there's Invasion of the Tiny Sauruses.
Well, when you get so many, it's like you start to run out of ideas.
It looks like they've done one movie a year ever
That's
since,
nuts.
all the way up until 2007, and then they took a break. But they got another one coming out in 2015. The Never Before Time, was it 14? The Journey of the Heart.
Journey of the Heart, baby. Here it comes.
This is going to be when Sarah stops being a bitch. It doesn't even have her listed in the cast. It's just Littlefoot, Ducky, and Petrie. That's odd. That's
true.
But that is a direct-to-video animated film. It's not coming in theaters and stuff. So anybody interested in that, you're going to have to just Netflix it. Yep. Any favorite or least favorite scenes that you had?
I can't really think of any. I mean, it's all somewhat, I don't want to say generic, but it's all kind of there. I think what it is the totality of the story. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily built on great scenes that are memorable.
Yeah, the only thing that I remembered after watching it, I watched this and Dinosaur back to back at like, I don't know, 5 in the morning or something like that. So for those that don't know, haven't listened to podcasts in the past and stuff, I barely sleep. It's really horrible for me. But so I watch a lot of movies at like 2 in the morning. And by the next day, I kind of have to like, not that I don't remember them, but it kind of like blends in with a lot of things. And the only thing that stood out to me the next day was I remembered the scene with the tree star. I thought that was a kind of cute idea. You know, instead of just making it a leaf and, you know, we eat this, it's a special tree star and you got to find the other ones and stuff. Like,
yeah,
you know, that's something cute for little kids to follow.
Something unique of that world that might be true. We don't know.
So, rating 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, 0 being just the worst movie of all time. What would you give this?
Land Before Time, you know, as a film itself, maybe like a 6, but with the nostalgia factor, I'd probably bump it to a 7.
I'm going to be much more critical. I have written down a 3 out of 10.
Because you're a cynical bastard, that's why.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I think if I would have watched this as a kid, I would have had that nostalgia factor, and that would have at least bumped it up to a 5 or a 6, but I don't remember watching it. I could swear that I've watched it as a kid, but I mean, that 1 year after I'm born kind of thing, it could have been something that was just like in the background, some kids watching it, or maybe it was even one of the other ones too. That could have been that.
Well, yeah, it's all the same, so.
It all blends in together, but I loved dinosaurs as a kid, and I got into them mostly for the next movie that we're going to talk about. So if you are listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, then you need to just wait a minute and we will be right back. And if you are on YouTube, then click on that next video. We're going to talk about Jurassic Park.